So I have been kind of thinking about a couple of different things from just general ideas and structures that we tend to live by and that tend to kind of um, react from these places only as a result of these places being like conditions or energy that is living within our body that has not been reconciled or has not been understood yet. And on some levels, um, we are unaware or even maybe ignorant to what is happening within us. So, one of the things that I've been kind of looking into and studying a little bit has been how, when we are young, we get into this place from, as far as I can remember from myself, it's as soon as I could start, really starting to conceptualize, understand, and move around and function like on a physical level to where I wasn't just laying there as a baby. We start to get rewarded for the things that we do that are good, and we start to get punished for the things that we do that are bad. And what I feel like this really does for us, I want to say to us, but it's like energetically what it does in our system, in our body, is it starts to create this way of seeing the world in this sort of polarized way, where if I do this, then I get the reward, and if I do this, then I get the punishment. And sometimes even if I if I don't do this, I'll get the reward. So there are a lot of different ways that we use coercion and punitive force and different ways to get people to do things. It's kind of a control mechanism. Now, in a way, these control mechanisms can actually be used on somewhat of an innocent level depending on how they're used, with how much love is in the household and other things like that. There are other factors involved. However, I feel from going to school for, a very long time, including childcare settings, and then also through the parenting of our family structure, I felt that this way of relating with each other where it's kind of like how I treat you is based on what you're doing, either to me or for me, instead of I treat you with respect and love and care just for the simple fact that you're a human being on this planet and your life is sacred. So, if we have this basic understanding of the sacredness of life and the connection of life and our basic humanness, we have more of an empathetic understanding to ourselves, our relationships, and our children, and we're able to ask people, if they have a concern, if they have something that maybe we make a request and they're not able to fulfill that, we're able to have like a dialogue back and forth about that request that was made. And the way we tend to do things, many of us in society, is we'll make more of like a demand, which comes from that childhood fear and punishment reward model. We'll make a request or a demand, and then we expect it to be done, and if it's not done, then we will punish that person, and we will punish them either when we're young, we get punished either physically or through timeouts, or mom and dad withdraw their energy from us, their attention from us, and ignore us. There's so many different ways, and some of them very subtle, that we actually energetically and physically punish those that are around us. And so, I'm kind of talking in circles a little bit here, but what I'm trying to say is that we aren't able to really, from this place, we aren't able to really see the inherent nature and beauty of the things around us as much. It's almost like there's this closed down view of life from a stressful place. And then that stress accumulates in our body, and it can really reach a breaking point in us where we've had so much of that stress over time, and we've lived so much from that dichotomized place of seeing the people around us and the situations around us from this very shallow base, surface level area where we don't. And the reason I call it surface level is because it's still in this basis of fear, fear of being punished, fear of not being rewarded, fear of being disapproved of, fear of being ignored, so we have all these different fears, right? And so then, because we have these fears, fear of loss could even be in that on a little deeper level. Because we have all these fears, then these are activated in us all the time in our relationships, because our primary relationships kind of bring us into our full relationships as adults. And, our ancestors' primary relationships and our ancestors' primary relationships. And there have been ways that energy has been kind of cut off and slothed down, and almost it's a dense form then that we function from, or it's even a free-flowing stress energy that we're functioning from. So it's not necessarily the fullness of who we are. And so what happens is when we start tapping into the fullness of who we are, and we start looking at things from this place of beauty, and we start seeing the rainbow that's here instead of the dichotomized black and white, we start seeing more of a spectrum. When that starts to happen, the full spectrum in all of its colors, darkness and light in every possible way, can come forward. And in this coming forward, life starts to loosen up in a way. It's not as rigid and tight anymore. It's not as held down. It's not as it's you or me. It's not as it's black or white. It's punishment or reward. It starts to be more of a lightness and a freedom to experience each moment as it is. A lightness with the attitudes, a lightness with the anger, a lightness with the anything that you can think of that might come forward in that spectrum. So I just wanted to share this because I feel like the richness and depth of life is so sacred and so beautiful and so worthwhile that so many, not, obviously there are people that reach and find these things in ways that are just purely grace given and in a merciful moment, but they can also be found just by starting to really ask questions of yourself and of your situations, of your world and of the things around you. Like basic questions, like what do I really believe? Like, and how am I really seeing this situation? How am I really seeing this person? What else is possibly here in this situation? What are all the possibilities that are here? So, yeah, that's just something I wanted to quick mention. And I have a lot more actually in this area to talk about, but I feel like it's kind of organizing itself for me to kind of understand better, because right now it's still sort of ephemeral in a way. It's difficult for me to explain, but I hope to explain it in a very straightforward, grounded way as it comes forward.